Evening and welcome to Fiscal 27 Budget Workshop meeting. Again, I want to just remind everybody that tonight there is not a public comment component to the workshop. These are simply designed for the council to have the opportunity to focus their discussions with each department head regarding their FY27 budget, addressing any concerns and forecasting future needs. We do look forward to and appreciate your feedback, and we are inviting all residents to come and participate in the public hearing that is scheduled on May 7th at 6 o'clock right here. So we do encourage that, and if you have questions that can't wait, please just reach out to your counselor via email, and we will get those noted and addressed as soon as we can. So with that, I will turn it over to Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be brief to start. We only have one department listed for tonight, so Health and Welfare Department. And then after that is done, we may have a couple just status updates for what to expect in the coming meetings. But I'll hand it off to Denise.
Good evening, Denise. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Great.
Good.
So we can start off, so we get a little consistency. So can we start off with where your budget was last year, what this year, and then the reason, and if there's any changes and things like that, then we'll start going through the line that way, just so people have some context of what it was last year, what it was this year, what the percentage increase is, and we can just dive into any changes and things like that. Thank you.
Okay. So from last year's budget to this one, there's a reduction in the budget, actually. There's been a few changes just as far as the some numbers and switching around some different numbers because this current fiscal year, Christina had created another account for the shelter, just so we could have a line item just for the shelter for temporary housing. So this year, that's one of the changes. It would have been normally under emergency housing, everything, but we're changing it up. So we have numbers in each of those lines now. But other than that, I think basically it's been reduced, the budget for this year. And I did have a few changes in some categories with electric for general assistance and reduction like the housing costs. I think those are the biggest ones. And the electric wasn't really that much, it was $500. But changing the two line items for the emergency housing and including the shelter, we just kind of split up that money that was for temporary housing.
And if I might, just to speak to the mayor's initial question, to speak to the reduction you mentioned. So last year, the total cost before revenues was approximately $344,000, and now in this preliminary budget, it's $343,000. The revenues have also changed slightly here, but it's still just a very modest change compared to last year. Just want to share those numbers for people that don't have the budget book in front of them.
Yes.
So I think one of the issues Councilor Green just pointed out to me was that the numbers that you just provided, you said a decrease, but in the book here we're showing an increase of about 8,000, or was it 3% or?
So it's the net cost.
Oh.
So when you say there's a reduction, you mean in the
In just the general assistance portion,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, in just the general assistance portion, of what I was talking about. And yeah, Nick made a good point. The overall budget is it's a 3.5%.
So you mean
increase.
the line 45 that says welfare? Is that what you mean?
Line 45, yes.
Okay.
So just to say it aloud, the net budget for the entire department, everything considered, is a slight increase, a 3.5% increase of about $8,400. You're correct.
Right. So, and I'm seeing a slight decrease in the labor cost and in the revenue. But the overall is, the net is a 3% increase, 8,487, right? Okay.
Correct.
Yes, Councilor Harad.
So you said that the housing, those have been split up, but it looks like they're split up and it's still not equal. So why is it 15,000 less?
Well, I reduced the emergency housing, temporary emergency housing, by a few, I guess it would have been $10,000. Because there's a total, I guess there's a total of 70,000. Yeah, that's a total of 70,000, right? 25 and 45. 70,000 versus 75,000 last year.
Well, right, but those lines totaled in the prior year 125,000, correct? And this year they're totaling 115,000 or 110,000, so I'm just wondering why.
Right. So I had reduced, well, we split up the $75,000 line from last year, and we put some money into the temporary housing shelter line. So I kind of just split up that 75,000 for those two lines, but there was a reduction for that 75,000 by 5,000. And then the 50,000 for regular housing, like rents and everything, I had reduced that to 40,000. So there's a $10,000 difference there.
Okay, is there a reason this is being reduced like this?
Just going by the numbers that we have for this year right now.
Is it just less applications or?
It's less expenditures. I'm not sure of the applications. I haven't, done that tally of how many applications we've had for the year.
Okay.
You're saying the demand for the service has gone down?
I don't know if the demand has gone down, but it might be that people aren't eligible, so we're not spending as much.
Councilor.
So just to be clear, if this is a budget, so it's a projection, right, based on last year's numbers. If someone has, anyone can make an application to GA, and if they're eligible, we will fund them, right? It doesn't mean this is in any way a cap on eligible claims for GA.
Exactly, because general assistance is a mandated program.
Right.
So we have to, whether my projections are off by whatever amount, we still have to fund the program.
And then the reimbursement from the state is at 70% or 75%?
It's 70.
70? Okay. Sorry?
It just got proposed to 75 this year, so, but it's not into effect.
Oh, okay, got it, right. I know there've been proposals to fund at 90%, which would be great for municipalities as well. But anyway, so we get 70% of that projected cost
Whatever we do spend, we get
back
70%.
in revenue, yeah.
I had an additional point to add that after the original creation of this preliminary budget, we have been in discussion with the Mid-Maine Homeless Shelter about the possibility of a memorandum of understanding around presumptive eligibility. If that were to go through, then these numbers may change, so there'd be a higher expenditure, but also the revenues or reimbursements would go up. Just a rough order of magnitude based on what I think I've been told from the shelter, but we're still working on numbers. The expenditure of that presumptive eligibility, which is the shelter getting a possible payment for bed nights of people, their first 30 days there in some instances, could be as high as an annual payout of $116,000, but that's roughly $9,700 a month if there were 11 applicants each month. That's probably on the higher end, but it's good to account for that. And then if if that were to happen, 70% would be reimbursed at over 81,000, so it'd be a net expenditure at the end of the day of about 35,000. So it's just to say we're still working on that with the shelter and looping in the city solicitor to make sure, we have the proper arrangements in place. If that is to move forward, it would go before the council, but that would change this budget a slight bit if that were to happen.
Can you also explain the difference, what's the difference between the state welfare reimbursement and the miscellaneous welfare reimbursement?
Yes, the state reimbursement is the 70%, and then the miscellaneous is, we have people who apply for SSI benefits, and if they get approved, we have a lien on those benefits, and we get reimbursed for whatever assistance they received. So we haven't had a lot of people, that's been happening with, so it's just a small amount.
But you kept that revenue.
I kept that there because it may happen. It could be more, it might be less.
Any other questions for Denise? All right, seeing none, all right, yes, sorry. Seeing none, I think we're done with this one for tonight. Thank you, Denise. And then, Nick, you wanted to provide some other, you were going over the date changes and things like that?
We can certainly go over the date changes. The next meeting is the 29th. That's on a Wednesday, which is abnormal, but it's what worked for the schools and didn't conflict with other pre-existing dates. They had to push out a little to make sure they provided the most up-to-date information. They were given mostly good news from the state, and that had to be incorporated. I'm sure they wanted their board to have first sight of everything as well. So on the 29th, we will have the schools. And then if it is the will of the council, we could also use a portion of that date and time to update you on the proposed cuts or added revenues that have been discussed and move forward. We can discuss if that's what you'd like to do, and it doesn't have to be the only time we do it, but it could be the first time that we give you them all in one place so you can digest them before we actually discern which ones you'd like to move forward with.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, we're going to take a minute. We're going to move this podium over, and we're going to get ready for our regular scheduled meeting. So give us just a moment. Thank you. Hey, well, good evening. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas on the table near the entrance or online on the city's website. Consent agenda items are routine items which are voted on in one motion and vote. Unfinished business or new business items are voted on separately. Councilors will be given the opportunity for questions or comments, followed by citizens who must speak at the podium identifying themselves. Citizens will be allowed to speak one time per agenda item for up to 3 minutes. Citizens who do wish to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have the opportunity to do so during the public comment section of the agenda for up to 3 minutes. And this evening, we'll kick ourselves off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Any disclosure of conflict of interest? Any counselors have a conflict of interest on any of the votes that they will take this evening? Seeing none, we will move right into presentations. Tonight we have a couple. First with the grants and special projects update. So.
I'm gonna make me stand up there, and I have some sheets here. You have the grant one to talk to?
Yep. Yeah, it's in the packet.
Okay. I'm gonna give you all a new top sheet from what went out.
Okay.
My apologies, but when I was going through it today, I noticed once again, I forgot to carry the headers. I didn't do it with the grants and all of those to print out tonight because of the length of it, but I did change them, so the next time we give you an update on this, you will have headers
Awesome.
on all the pages, so you can see where the columns line up.
Love it.
You're welcome. I must have counted some up, right?
You got one up here. Yeah.
You want me to start in?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. All right, I've been promising this to you for a little while now. Finally got things pulled together. So in your workbook that I developed for this, I did the first page, which I just handed out, by departments. And what I did was I encompassed what they had for bond projects in the last 2 active bonds. Then I put in capital reserve accounts that they hold under that particular department and what that may be for. Any grants that were obtained or associated with that individual department that either runs through there, monitored by them, or directly benefiting them. And then if there's any TIF-funded projects, and I don't see many pink highlights here, but attached to these are the individual sheets. So after your main sheet, you'll go to the next one, and it says Bond 25. That gives you a little more detail about what those projects were under each department, and to look at it as a whole of everything that was included in Bond 25. The next tab is the Bond 21, and those projects, where we stand with them, what's closed, if there's anything still open, and what amount. Then you'll have also a capital reserve listings that just segregate your capital reserve accounts. Then we put together, and Nate's going to speak on that, a grant page, and we pulled all of the grants to that page so that you could see how many grants the city currently has. It's easier to reference it than to go down through all these departments and trying to find a grant sometimes, just to have all the grants and things together. And then I gave you the TIF project list and a list of all the interest funded. So I know it is a lot of material to look at, and
Confused that that's not what I have in front of me. Is anybody else?
We have the first section, but then there's a
Did you get it electronically with all the tabs?
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, okay, I thought you were
Okay,
referring to what you
thank
just
you.
handed to us.
So this is the cover sheet. And then, okay, thank you.
Yes, and I tried to keep them, because Nate is going to talk about the grants specifically a little more in detail. And then I figured give you some time to formulate questions about any of these particular accounts that you'd like more detail on. Happy to do that. We talk about the bonds quite a bit as we've gone through, and it's in your quarterly report, so I expected maybe less of those and more on the capital, and maybe the interest funded, but that's up to you. I don't want to take up a lot of your time this evening. I'll let him present the grants, and then if you have more questions you want details about, I can either try to answer them for you this evening, or later in the budget season or at a future meeting, if you'd like. So I know you have quite a big agenda, so.
So Patty, I think it's in the, it should be towards the end, actually, of the packet. There's 2 slides. So- Oh, yeah. Yeah, that Windows thing is there, but it's okay. So I know some of you by now, but my name is Nate Bernard. I've been working with the city in a part-time community development role since September through my USM master's degree program in public policy and management. Part of my work with the city has been helping to advance your council goal of diversifying funding in a sustainable, capacity-aware way. Specifically today, I'm providing a brief overview on how we can begin to implement a grant vetting process aligned with your council priorities. So first, to consider capacity in the vetting process, I looked at the city's grant data over the last 2 years to see what we've already been doing. So as you can see, I don't know, some of that might be a little bit tough to read. There have been 62 active grants won and administered by the city over the last 2 fiscal years, and with total grant revenue of $1.3 million and $1.2 million respectively. So I think there's a little bit of a misconception about grants that it's free money. But when we're considering capacity, I think it's important to realize the additional staff time and work that each one of these 62 grants actually creates. So, for example, one grant account that I've helped manage since September is a $70,000 award from the governor's office that allowed the city to weatherize a hangar at the airport and install solar panels at the municipal pool. So both projects create recurring savings for the city, lowering operating costs at each site by improving infrastructure. However, these grant projects also create additional work for city staff. To successfully administer this grant funding, city staff had to draft and publish 2 RFPs. We had to solicit 6 different vendor bids. We had to submit 4 progress reports to the state government. We had to manage project costs and implementation over several months, and submit tax rebates to the federal government. These administrative duties can sometimes seem invisible, but they oftentimes fall onto departments' heads, they fall onto staff, or Christina, or Sarah, most likely. At a scale of 62 different grants with varying requirements and responsibilities, you can begin to see how this exacerbates the issue of staff capacity. Raises the question of what the city really has the ability to handle in terms of grants. All to say, looking at these numbers, we should really be asking ourselves, do we have the capacity to not just win a grant, but also administer a grant at a level of operational excellence? That should be the first question the city considers before we apply for grant funding, in my opinion. The capacity question, I think, is especially important as you move forward into the next fiscal year. The city has already been awarded another $1.1 million in grants, so you can see we're almost at the exact same level we were the other 2 fiscal years. It's almost matching what we've already done. So if we move on to the next slide, we can start to ask ourselves a next important question in the grant vetting process. Does the grant invest in projects that are aligned with city council goals? So in the case of our next fiscal year, current grants are well aligned with council goals of improving quality of life, enhancing economic vitality, and making Waterville attractive for families. listed out some different examples that we have here, just to kind of illustrate what the numbers would mean in the spreadsheet. We have the $250,000 main trails grant, expanding the Quarry Road infrastructure by constructing beginner-friendly biking, walking, and ski trails, and a gear shack that will allow more families and youth to participate in outdoor recreation. The funding's a fantastic opportunity to continue to make Waterville a regional hub for outdoor rec. $850,000 congressionally directed spending from Senator King's office. That'll push forward the downtown vision plan by making Waterville more walkable. Creates pedestrian-friendly pathways between disparate parts of the city, allowing residents to safely walk from the south end to downtown. Additionally, with input from businesses and citizens, that grant funding is going to help construct a pedestrian plaza that will be built in front of Silver Street Tavern, creating a communal space for residents to enjoy meals, drinks, maybe in the future, live music and art as well. So these, in my opinion, these are both good grant projects because while they're large, there's just two of them. It makes it more manageable with current staff capacity. They align with current city council goals. And if we pursue more grant projects like this, I really don't see any reason that the city can't sustainably grow grant revenue to somewhere around $3 million a year, which would not be out of the realm of possibility for a municipality our size. This would allow us to pursue substantial projects to enhance the quality of life in Waterville. I think to do that, though, it's necessary to engage not only city staff when you all are considering what grants we might pursue, considering capacity, considering goal alignment, but also we should be considering the public. We should be considering what the taxpayers of Waterville want for the city and how they want the city to grow, because I think that can inform a lot of the projects that we need and a lot of the priority areas that we have. I mean, as we look through here, we don't see any grants for housing, but housing is the top priority of the council, and I think that it would be a shock if that wasn't a top priority as well for the taxpayers. So I think if done correctly, I do believe grants can be a meaningful way to diversify revenue and help you guys attain your council goals. I don't think it's going to be a silver bullet for attaining that everything that you guys want to do, but I think if you come away from anything from this, it's that we shouldn't just be going after grants to grow top-line revenue. Grants are one-time funding sources. It's not a way to add to a revenue source. It is really a way for us to invest in projects that'll have recurring savings, just like we're looking at the infrastructure projects at the pool or up at the airport. These are things that are going to lower operating costs. They're going to help those infrastructures be more sustainable over time, and that's how we can see ongoing wins from grants. I've had the chance to look at the reserve accounts with Christina as well, look at the TIF funds. I think there's a lot of tools at your disposal to attain your goals. I think grants are one of them, but I think you can't overlook the extra work that it creates, especially when we're talking 62 grants for $2 million. I think you can get to $3 million a year, but I think there's smart ways to do it. So, yeah, that's my spiel.
Nate, you're awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Before you just walk away and sit down, like, any questions for Nate or for Christina? Yes, Council Green.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really a great overview. I'm just wondering what the grant under finance is, which grant that is for 1.28 million in fiscal year 25?
So, yeah, brownfields, so that's Hedda Falls, right, doing site assessments for that
Okay.
and that new development. And some of the funding that you'll see in these things, these will be pass-throughs, right? So there's some that are managed directly by the city, some we're passing through so that, you know, we can do projects like the huge Quarry Road project, for instance. A lot of that was passed through, but brownfield was a big part of that.
Did I mishear you? Did you say 1.2? Were you talking one particular grant or all of them?
I'm just looking at the graph that shows under finance 1.28 million.
Okay, all right.
It's all of them added together. It's
Yeah.
the brownfields, we also do
Okay.
NBRC grants, which
Right.
we act as the state pass-through. We do regional technical assistance grants for the state, which is a pass-through, comes to us, and then it goes back out to the economic development agencies for the work they do in supporting business development and plans in the communities. So we do those consistently since I've been here. We've always done those. We used to have 3, it's down to 2 now. The grants with CDBG have come down to my office for the majority of the things once they become to be implemented in drawdowns. So the mill project, Lockwood 2 came down there. The Head of Falls money came through my office for the drawdowns and the processing of everything. The Dupre, which was then changed, pulled back, but they
Yeah.
reside in finance.
Okay, so
Oh, sorry.
just to follow up on that, so some of these grants weren't applied for by city staff, correct? Like the Quarry Roads Trail project was applied for by Quarry Road, but we're a pass-through for them?
Quarry Road on the Meadow project, the big project that they're doing out there, chose to hold their own funds. But it is in conjunction with the community because we own the site.
Right,
And we had to do
right,
the assurances.
yeah.
But we are issuing the checks and then
Right,
getting
okay,
reimbursed
okay.
because the whole check process to do it weekly and smoothly and staff-wise. So we have
Yeah.
kind of a blended partnership with them for that project. The Trails project that he was talking about for the MTP program, Municipal Trails, will come through the city itself, even though
Okay.
it's going on at Quarry Road.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I should also clarify that graph. If we looked at the first slide again, I think we would walk through that a little bit, but that's aggregate numbers. So I took fiscal year 25, fiscal year 26 awarded, which haven't been spent yet, but been won. Added those together, split them across the departments so we could kind of get a broad overview of what we're looking at by department. And I think stuff like this, it gives you a sense of where the money is coming into, where it could use a little bit more love maybe in the city. If we're talking about grants, where we want to invest into. But yeah, so this is aggregate over it. And definitely, I think, as we've started to talk across different departments of what they may need, what they might want, there are projects that fit with your guys' goals already, so we don't have to do anything new. We can find projects that already fit and kind of go and search for those. It just takes time, right? Like anything in life. So it's I think it's good to look at it in a kind of broad aggregate way. And you could consider other accounts like that too.
When we act as a pass-through, are we an applicant as well on these grants, or does, I'm assuming somebody needs to get our okay for us to be a pass-through, right?
Right, the city has had a relationship with the state of Maine
Yeah.
for those technical assistant grants and those type of things for numerous years. It was in effect when I came, it had been going on, and we chose to continue it. There is some sort of regulation that it cannot be given direct to those agencies by the state. They have to have a middle person that issues the checks, that verifies the invoices that they submit for payment, and authorizes those checks to go out, and then requests the money to come back from the state.
Very similar to the demolition project that happened out here.
Correct.
Right, okay.
So that came through us, and then we would submit for the money, and then we would forward it to the developer for what they had paid out, or if we paid it out to the developer, then it would be a reimbursement to the city. They all have their own little rules. Some follow along the same path, some are completely different. But yes, so those ones, we just keep downstairs because we already have that relationship, and we have the path for the setting up vendors and approving the checks and doing the drawdowns and things, so. but we're glad to have Nate.
Well, I think one other thing, just for pass-throughs and partnerships, I think grants do provide us an opportunity to support our community partners as well. We were meeting with the schools about a GoPIF grant, which is how we got the funding for the solar panels and weatherizing the airport. That was an opportunity that came through the city that we passed off to them so that they can upgrade their lighting systems throughout the entire high school, which would be a huge win for them. So I think there's ways, not just with pass-through, but you can build partnerships through grants. So it's a reason to meet. Supporting the schools is another one of your guys' priorities that you're trying to go after. So I think that's a huge win for them. They could get $75,000 to $175,000 for a project that they're going to need to do. They have to replace the incandescent lights throughout the schools. They don't have the funding to do it. They have the project laid out. It fits the grant. We can provide them support. We can show them the opportunity. So I think, there's a lot of ways that we can use grants to our benefit to enhance the community. But again, I would just listen to the taxpayers, listen to the community, listen to what they want, and that can be kind of a guiding light for a lot of this.
In future iterations of this graph or report, I don't know. For me, I think would it be helpful to see pass-through versus direct city support? I don't know if that would be, what are we applying for that's helping each of these departments as they move forward versus projects that we want to be good partners throughout the city, and we want to, obviously, a housing like this project here is, for the demolition piece, it's great, but what does that look like versus if Matt is, requests a grant for a truck or something, whatever that is, whatever comes about.
I spoke with Nate about it, and because of the amount of grants and the overwhelming, I thought that it would be helpful that each month, if he focused on one department and broke them down per department and what it's doing, whether it's going to partners or it's buying equipment, it's offsetting safety costs or trainings, as a whole department and what they've taken in and what it's doing. And that way it's one section at a time. If the council's okay with that, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Christina I've been lucky to spend a lot of time with Christina, walking through the grants, also the capital reserve accounts, starting to look at some of the TIF. So it's really as much information as you guys want. I tried to break it down to this so it's not super overwhelming, because 62 is not a minuscule amount of grants to look over. That's not even considering all the capital reserve accounts there are across the city. That's not considering TIF funds and projects that we're looking at. So I'm happy to give as many reports, as few reports as you guys want. That would be helpful. I think communicating this stuff to the public is also good. So I'm happy that Nick put this in a presentation session so that folks could kind of hear what the city is doing. Like Mike, we were just talking about going down to the pool house later this week with AYCC because the solar panels are going to be implemented there. I think projects like that create STEM learning opportunities for kids, again, ways we can engage with the community. So I think there's a lot of benefits to this stuff, but I think we should be telling the taxpayers the good work that we're doing here. So again, grant projects are great for that. Some of the capital reserves could potentially be good for that also. But just like grants, there's very focused uses for these funds. So.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, I think this would be an opportunity. We could put something like this on the website also, find a section for this to live. Because, I mean, Nate's right. It is great information, and, there's good wins, with the Appleton Street project and things like that, just to kind of see what these things are doing. So I think that's a fantastic point. So, awesome. All right, well, Kathy,
Yep.
please.
Thank you so much for this. I have a quick question. So it sounds like in your assessment, you did recognize the administration piece of it, and it sounds like that could be somewhat of could that be a barrier to us, acquiring more grants? Would it be helpful to have somebody dedicated to this, or what are your thoughts on that as you kind of looked at all of this?
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly I'm hoping that came across of what I'm trying to, like, exactly what you just said, that I think there's a perception, like I said, that grants are just free money. We can go out and get it at will, that once you win a grant, the work is kind of done. But if you're looking at the life cycle of these grants, winning these grants is 5% of the job, right? The bigger portion of this, like Michael Hall was a guy you guys had working here. He right now still has about $1 million worth of grants that we're working on through the city. It depends what you guys want to do. I think like I didn't want to come up here and make any recommendations. I think it's just you knowing that it does take time, it does take work. If you want to get to a number like $3 million, let's say, there's a lot of avenues to get to that, but it's gonna, like, it takes time, it takes capacity. And I think a lot of this stuff, I was, try to get across that it'll just fall onto the department heads, it'll fall onto department staff, it'll fall onto Christina, it falls onto Sarah. When I came into the city in September, I went and talked to Sarah, and I was like, what are the grants we're doing? And it was one of a million things that were tacked on to what she does. So I think, like it can help to have dedicated folks working on it. I think a job like that too, it really has to be across departments and just listening to what departments need. I think it shouldn't be a role that's just siloed. It's something that really the job is listening to what Matt needs, listening to what Jason needs, right? Listen to what Chief Bonnie needs. And through that, you can match them with the council goals. So it's it depends how much you want to grow it. It depends if you find grants valuable for the city. If you think that it can help you attain your goals, that's really a question for you guys of what you want to do. But it certainly does take a lot of work to do.
Yes, I can appreciate that for sure. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. Anyone from the public have a question with regard to the presentation? Leo?
Nate. That happens a lot.
So I just, question for him, sounded like he was saying 62 grants, 1.4 million, 1.2 million. Sounded like you were saying it was too many grants for that much money with the staffing we had to manage them.
Yeah,
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dead on, buddy. Yeah, that's
Can you just say it so like I understand it?
Yeah, sorry, that's.
So
Well,
simple.
you did, see, you didn't give yourself credit. You did understand
No,
it. You
it
were
took
just
me a
asking
long
for
time. I'm
clarification.
ciphering this out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm just like saying, like I tell my kids, clean the room, but we don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we just make it simple.
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to get to. The simple thing
You were
is.
being very polite.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You gotta have kids. You don't have to be polite.
I just
You
had a
own
kid.
them.
I won't be as polite, I'm
We're getting
sure.
there, Yeah.
So I just like, so in my question is, are we applying for too many grants? What's your honest, don't care what anyone thinks about you, what's the honest answer?
I think a grant that is $2,500 can take as much work as a grant that's $1 million, right? So, you can get more bang for your buck with bigger projects, but you have to have the projects lined up to actually work on, right? Like there's an NBRC grant that's coming up this fall. We could get $1 million of it to help pay for drainage systems, infrastructure out at the Head of Falls Village, right? There's rural health transformation funds that are coming down that we could go for a big 7-figure grant for police, for fire department, to support them, support our EMS programs. There's Housing First grants, right, that are millions of dollars. It takes partnerships like with developers, it takes partnerships across the departments to make these things happen. But yeah, we got a lot of grants for not as much money as we could be getting.
So I appreciate that. I mean, you sound really smart. I was talking to my kid today. I drive an 88 truck. My radio's broken, the speaker hole's broken. She's like, when do we fix that? I'm like, I don't use a radio when I'm driving my truck. I don't care about it. It's not important to me. Like, some things are important. We need fire, rescue, police, housing. So we really need to prioritize. This is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, long story short,
It is.
we need to prioritize. Sometimes if your budget's here and your needs are here, I remember being in the grocery line when I was growing up, and my mother had food stamps, and at $126, she would look at the cashier, and then she would look at us, and she would say, stop at $126. And she would say, at that point, we're gonna put stuff back. We don't have more than $126. And we would fight, like, what's getting put back? She'd say, put the milk back because we can get free powdered milk. This was a bummer, but sometimes you just gotta make those hard choices. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Yes,
I'd like to comment on
Please.
what he said. And by all means, don't get me wrong, I don't mind doing the pieces that I do. I've been pretty clear, though, that I'm not going to be here super long-term. I have plans to retire.
allegedly.
And, and I want somebody to be aware of these grants. I want them to be informed of these grants, what needs to be done to finish these grants and carry them forward. And unfortunately, with the other stuff that I do with the reserves and the TIFs, I don't have time to be a Michael Hall and work on the development end. As he said, there's a lot of meeting with department heads and developers and to come up with the overall plan. So keeping the balls afloat down in the finance office the best I can with the existing grants we have. But I think that the economic community development role that we propose being funded with the TIF funds, because it comes directly out of the TIF funds, and it, I believe, is a key strategic position for not only the grants, but for economic development support throughout the community. And I know it's a tough year, and I know those potentially can be divided. If Nate is staying on, I think he can only be part-time for this next year. But long-term, I would hope that the goal would be to support that longer-term, full-time position and have somebody consistent working with the council on your vision and your goals that you want to accomplish and how all of these pieces align and play together to meet the strategies of the city. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's a great comment. And I think that's one of the things that Nick, as he starts, will figure out, where those, what players are needed and where, and so that's kind of what we hired him to do and make those determinations as to what he recommends and, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I will say, I think there are creative ways to fill staffing needs, right? I'm a master's student at USM. We have a public service work program. It's low cost, right? But we're keeping the momentum going with community development. I think there's ways that you can leverage partners and be creative with this stuff to save the city money and continue managing these projects and pushing them forward. It's a tough budget year. You guys got to make a lot of cuts. You got to prioritize things, just like this guy's talking about too. So it's, you got to figure out what's important. But I think there's ways to be creative with this stuff. And it's been great working with the city so far. It's been an honor. Yes.
Awesome.
I got a question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Nate, for this. This is actually really good. I got a question with you with the economic community develop position. Do we need a full-time position for that, or can we do a contract?
I mean, I think that's a decision for you guys, right? For me, it's like, I'm doing some of that work right now. It's part-time. I think it, again, it goes back to what Councilwoman was saying too. It's a choice of what you guys want in terms of capacity. I think you can get a lot of stuff done being creative with that position as well, right? I mean, Nick and I have talked some about this, so I'm sure you'll hear more about it. But yeah, I think there's creative ways to fill that without having to do a dedicated full-time role for it. I think there's big wins that can come from that, frankly. So I guess you don't need it, right? But you certainly need to be doing this work. I wouldn't drop it entirely, but yeah, be smart, be creative with it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. As I understand, the tree task force, that's postponed, we're postponing that till 5/5. That presentation is not quite ready yet. All right, wonderful. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Christina. All right, so we will move on to the city manager report.
Thank you. First off, just an ongoing note I've provided is the budget process. As noted in the earlier portion of this meeting, the next event for the budget workshop process is on April 29th. That's on a Wednesday for the schools. At that meeting or around then, we will provide the council with some of the initial proposed cuts tallied up for you being able to digest it and consider what you would like to move forward with. Up next, I have just a minor update on the Trafton Road project, the Amazon warehouse distribution. That's in the planning process. As discussed in previous meetings, we are committed to keeping the communication going with the public on that, ongoing. And the next event is April 28th at 7 p.m. It's an informal pre-application review. So that's part of the planning board process. And it's the same process other projects of that nature would go through. And it's named pre-application to denote that there's actually 2 steps in the planning board process. So at that meeting, there will be other entities even before them. And then this is the last thing on the agenda that evening. But they will have 2 meetings with the planning board. This is just the first of 2. And we will post any materials that we have on the landing page of the website. And if you want to get to that, it's under the planning department, but more easily, if you go to the search bar and just type in the word Amazon, it'll bring you right there and tell you all the updates on that project. Up next, a penny policy update. And I have an attachment in the agenda. It's just to note that due to a discontinuation of penny production, we'll be rounding cash change to the nearest 5 cents. And pricing will remain unchanged. Only your change will be rounded, and there won't be any impacts if you're using credit or debit cards. And we'll have flyers posted so the staff and customers at points of sale or cash payments will know the exact protocol for when to round up or down when it's involving 5 or less or more. So since there won't be pennies anymore. And then next, I have a police department update with a FBI recognition. I won't go into the entire attachment that I included in the agenda, but I was pleased to learn that through the police department, various members of the FBI wanted to congratulate and thank the police department, Waterville PD, for their assistance to safely bring a dangerous criminal into custody who had fled from New York City recently. And just a couple quick quotes so you can read the entire thing as you wish. An FBI NYPD Joint Task Force Supervisory Special Agent stated, "Firstly, I'd like to thank Waterville PD, specifically TFO Jake Whiteley, who did a fantastic job coordinating and executing a plan under rapidly changing conditions. The operation itself would not have gone as smoothly as it did, if at all, without TFO Whitley aggressively running with the request. Furthermore, a special agent in charge of the Boston field office, which includes Maine and its area of operations, stated, 'Excellent work to all,' as it related to the operation, noting that collaboration leads to success." And the police department wanted me to share that, and I was proud to share it too, because they strive to be as professional as possible, and they do provide best-in-class services to the city. And when we work with our partners to keep the city safe, it's good to share that with the public, I thought. 2 more quick updates before we move on. The Impact Task Force. As the city manager, I am the de facto chair of that group, and there's also a task of mine that's supposed to give status updates. So I will be doing that at the next meeting on May 5th and tell you what that group is up to. And then the last bullet point I have is the 2026 City Council Goals Quarterly Report. Earlier today, I disseminated that to the City Council via email, but just right thereafter, I put it up on the website. So it is on the City Council pages under the City Council goals. So the quarterly report will list status of our work towards achieving the council goals, both with staff and city partners in the community. And I'm told that in the past that perhaps this was not done often, perhaps annually, so this quarterly approach, and I think somewhat thorough, even though it's not all-inclusive, it gives a lot of examples of what we're up to achieve the goals. So once the council and the members of the public have had a chance to digest that, if they're so inclined, I'd like to continue working together to achieve these goals, because I think we're making good progress early on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Next up, council comments and/or committee reports. Does any counselor have a comment or committee update? If not, I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed Claude. Are you here still? Yeah, he's back there. He's going to give us an update on the Historic Preservation Commission and the annual report. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Waterville Historic Preservation Commission was formed last year by the council. We've been meeting on a regular basis since that time, and I'm here to read the report, and I believe that report is available to, all right. The purpose of the Waterville Historic Preservation Commission is to have jurisdiction to regulate and preserve historic architecture and of cultural significance areas, landmarks, and sites within their boundaries. 7 members on the board, board of directors. 1 person resides in an adopted historic district, 1 from a business community, and 4 additional members. Currently, the membership is myself, chairman, Jessica Kuchar from the Waterville Historic Society, Pam Merrill, Ron Merrill, and Patrick Moore. We currently are short 1 member. We've been looking for somebody who resides in the downtown historic district, but that's been tough because not a lot of people live in that district there. At January 25, we approved the bylaws, and those are available on the city website. All right. Waterville Code Enforcement was notified of the new application procedure for changes in the historic district. So anyone doing work in that district is referred to the commission. All right. At our first meeting in April 2025, Paul Uranek, representing Elm City Limited Corporation, that's at Colby College, presented an application for the installation of a limestone sign at 173 Main Street. The proposal included removal of portions of the historic yellow Roman brick to permanently inset a 72-inch by 22-inch by 4-inch limestone slab in the center front facade between the 2nd and 3rd floors. The Commission reviewed the application in accordance with the City of Waterville's Historic Preservation Ordinance and denied the proposal, citing 4 applicable articles. The primary concern was the irreversible alteration of historic building materials and the impact on the city's architectural integrity. During the discussion, the Commission identified alternative approaches that would allow for recognition of the Powell family while preserving the historic fabric of the structure. These included reinstallation of the building's historic bronze plaque and placement of a separate dedication plaque at street level. A vote was taken on the original application for the limestone sign, and the application was denied. Subsequent motion was made to approve an alternate approach, including reinstallation of the historic plaque and placement of a street level dedication marker. The applicant appealed the commission's decision to the planning board in October 2025. Legal counsel for Elm City presented the basis for the appeal, along with the background information on the Powell family. Following deliberations, the planning board upheld the appeal and approved the installation of the limestone sign. A street-level dedication plaque was installed shortly after the initial meeting in April. The planning board's decision did not incorporate the commission's recommended alternatives, including the reinstallation of the historic bronze plaque. So that was our first meeting. Also at that meeting, Julie Larry, architectural historian for the Black Diamond Consultants, met with us to discuss the Victorian Center neighborhood proposed historic district surveying. Now, that's a mouthful. She showed us the boundaries of the proposed district and noted it was estimated to be 450 properties. Many have historic garages as well, which are separate on the survey sheets. Funding for the survey had been secured by Michael Hall, the community development specialist for Waterville. All right. Okay. And also in April, we reviewed and approved sign application for 46 Main Street, a sign for Enchanted Herbs and Teas. We also reviewed and approved gas meter installation at Common Street, the Matthew Boulres building, 58-9 Main Street. In October, we met in person for the Victorian District Surveying Grant by Julie Larry. She does many surveys of historic properties. In August 2024, the city funded a review of the Victorian Center neighborhood. So that's where that came from. The state of Maine requires standard survey forms to be completed, and these have gone to Michael Goebel Bain for review at the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. To view the proposed Victorian district area, you can go to CARMA. That's a Maine Department of Transportation program, which I've put a link in. There are house icons with different colors. Under the layers icon, you'll find the legend for the different colors. Briefly, to bring everybody up to speed on the Victorian Village, that's the section of town between Elm Street and the Messalonsky Stream, and on the other boundaries being Western Avenue and North Street. So that's a section of town in which most of the buildings were built around the turn of the 19th century. So they're 100 years old. And so one of the things that we'll be looking for from council is for the council to sponsor a program of education so that the folks who currently own properties in the area would find out what the benefits of being a historic district are, and that's the next step in the process. Will be to come back to council once the Maine Historic Preservation Commission has reviewed our initial report. We'll come back and ask for some sort of informational hearing of some sort. Okay. And that's my report.
Excellent. Any questions for Claude with regard to the work of the Historic Preservation Commission? Councilor Beal?
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for what you're doing and look forward to working with you on the education program.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Claude.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to make a public comment on anything that does not appear on tonight's agenda? Sir?
As far as the Amazon issue, I think it's good. We talked about this last time, about jobs, how many jobs we need, how many people we have to fill those jobs. Has anyone done the numbers? Because I have. It doesn't seem like we have maybe 1,200 jobs they're going to hire if they come here. How many people would possibly from Waterville fill those jobs? Does anyone have a number?
Public comment is just comment, it's not a discussion,
Yeah.
so.
So it's like maybe 20 or 30 jobs, people from Waterville filling those jobs. So anyways, one of the things I'm concerned about, and I think it possibly could be good, I've heard things about infrastructure growth, and that's really good. That should be talked about more. Any assets they can bring besides jobs would be really beneficial for people to understand and recognize the importance and significance that's going to bring to our community. I'm concerned that we're not recognizing, or at least talking about, the cost of Waterville potential growth infrastructure we need to support Amazon. Fire, rescue, roads. If those cost us money, we need to recoup that. Like, there's no benefit to getting $17 an hour jobs, 30 or 50 or 60 of them, if we got to increase, add a fire truck or rescue or police. Because I'm assuming if you have a warehouse of that size, we're going to have to increase the fire department. It kind of stands to reason. So I think we should talk about that, or at least recognize and be thinking about that as a city council. Is this going to cost us money down the road? Just adding 20 jobs doesn't justify buying a $600,000 fire truck, unless they're going to add $1.6 million or $1 million worth of infrastructure. Okay, great, then that works out. Those are things that, like, the average person maybe doesn't understand the benefits of them coming here when we only talk about jobs. Having said that, I don't know if they're going to come here or not, but has anyone done any studies? Have we talked to the fire department as a city council or the police department? If that size structure comes here, facility comes here, does it add to our need? I haven't heard it. All I've heard is jobs. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
I'd just like to quickly comment.
No, thank you. We're good. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you very much. All right, now I will entertain a motion to read by title only.
Motion to read by title only.
All those in favor? Wonderful, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Resolution 85, 2026.
Authorize the issuance of an outdoor dining extension to Juan Carlos Sanchez, doing business as Charo's Theater.
Move to adopt.
Okay. Kyla, sir, you are here. Would you like to come and speak to what it is you're doing?
Well, I want to start off by saying thank you guys so much for the support you guys have given me at Charo's. obviously, besides the patio, want to recognize the efforts that everybody in that building is doing, including giving me enough time to come over here and be able to show my face and ask for the patio.
All right, so as I take a look at this photo, I'm sorry, it was a little bit hard for me to understand, or as I see, like, we have stuff on the sidewalk here, and then we have also things in the street? Is that
Correct. So
correct? Okay.
The proposal is to utilize the sidewalk area for tables, but also to move into the street area with tables. And they've indicated that they don't plan to put up a tent, which was done in the past, and that wasn't well received.
Amen.
So
Thank you.
the tables will each have umbrellas, correct? And so that's the proposal, and it will go to basically the area where the barriers will be placed, similar to what was blocked off last year. It's already blocked off, and that's the space that Charo's Theater will take.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the council with regard to this? Sure. Council Green?
Yeah, I think it's great that you want to get people outside. I'm also looking at the diagram, and the tables look very close to the other building, and I just wanted to make sure that someone has taken a look in terms of just the public safety aspect.
Once they are set up, the first step obviously is to put the barriers out, and then they'll be able to place the tables outside. Code will go by once that starts happening to take a look, and they can make sure that, things are situated in such a way that public safety personnel would be able to get in there. And
Great.
So fire and code do inspections when the setup occurs.
Awesome. Thank you.
How many tables are you looking to add?
So if we also get the street, I think we can maybe fit like 10 four tops, but if not, we would reduce the amount of tables that we would put up there. But that's
So the
what
goal
we're
is
shooting
10
for.
between both the sidewalk and the street?
Correct.
Gotcha. All right, excellent. All right, any other questions from the council? All right. All those in favor? Thank you very much. All right, thank you, sir. You are good.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
You bet. Moving on to Resolution 86, 2026.
Authorize the issuance of a marijuana manufacturing license to Theory Wellness of Maine LLC.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Anyone from Theory here?
Don't believe so.
Okay. Authorize an issue. Is this an upgrade to a license, or is this a new, what is this?
This is a
exactly?
new license
Okay.
in their existing location. It's medical manufacturing.
Okay. All right. There's nobody here from Theory, but does anybody have any questions for administration? Anyone from public? All those in favor? Thank you very much. Moving on to Resolution 87, 2026.
Awarding a bid to the Central Maine chapter of the New England Mountain Bike Association for trail construction at Quarry Road Trails.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Matt, thank you.
Hello, everyone. So as was mentioned before, this is part of the Maine Trails Program grant for $250,000. I believe you all accepted it back in January. The two largest elements of the grant are building a multi-purpose garage out near the Welcome Center at the end of the road and the trails. So we had two contractors bid on the trails. We had 4 categories designated. We were looking for per lineal feet. That's how trail builders estimate projects. And Central Maine New England Mountain Bike Association was lowest in each of the 4 categories. Furthermore, Central Maine New England Mountain Bike Association has done great work for the city in the past, both at Pine Ridge and Quarry Road. So we feel confident that they're going to do a very nice job for us. So what it all includes is 1.5 miles of new trail and 0.7 of a mile of a refurbished trail. So that'll be the trail on the east side of Quarry Road, which we're all really excited about. It'll be a walking path / beginner mountain biking trail from where the first parking lot is at the kiosk all the way down into the snowmaking center. So we've been wanting to do this project for a long time. So we're excited about this. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? All right, seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you. Resolution 88, 2026.
Approval of vacation land jumps special operating rights agreement.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Who, you want to take this? Or Randy? I know see him back there.
Randy's here if
All
you'd
right.
like to hear from the airport.
Love to hear from
I'd
the
love to hear from
airport.
Randy.
Ah, jeez. How are you, sir?
Good, you? So yes, another year, Vacation Land Jumps is looking to have another season with us. We take no issue with it. They've been a great partner to work with. Same lease as last year.
This is their second season. I know that we had one person and then it transferred, and then so this is the second one with this group, right?
Yes.
So no change.
I think it might be this is the
Yeah,
third.
okay.
Third, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Like I said, phenomenal partner to work with. And we get a lot of positive feedback from folks, seeing the skydiving going on, so excited
Yeah.
to see it happen again.
It's always cool to see little parachutes. Yeah. All right. Any questions, comments from the council? Okay. All those in favor? Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to Resolution 89, 2026.
Appoint members to the Fire EMS Advisory Committee.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. All right, yeah, so this was a committee that we had talked about towards, I think it's either the tail end of last year or the beginning of this year. We finally got some applicants to apply. We rounded out some of the folks. I think we have a really good crew that's set to get together and do the work. So that's where we're at this point. Any comments or questions with regard to the list?
I believe I'm going to have to abstain from this one. Do you think it would be a conflict due to the individual that is on this committee?
You're not financially benefiting from this. I don't believe this is
I'm just
a
making
conflict
sure
of
that, I didn't
interest.
think so either. I just wanted to make sure that,
No, but you certainly can, but.
I would also like to be on this committee, but not so much under the city council position, but since I'm working, I will be putting in another bill next year.
For what? I mean, we'd have to change the charge of the committee. We can't just ad hoc add other people to the committee, so you can, it's up to you. Like, we can try to look, we'd have to create another to add or change the charge of the committee and the makeup of the committee.
Well, you have to do that amendment.
Yeah, so currently, the resolution before you has a blank space for another counselor.
Correct.
So we need to make an amendment to add a counselor there. If you wish to add additional members, then the committee charge would need to change. Of course, you could always attend the meetings and not be an official member, a non-voting member, if you will, and provide information if that's helpful. Anyone from the public could attend.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. Abstain, not abstain, you make the decision when we go to roll call. But we do have another spot for a counselor for this committee, so if there's another counselor that would like to participate, then great, that would be awesome.
Okay, I would ask to be on this as the council.
Okay. Anyone else want to be part of this committee? Seeing none, then
Is
can I
there a
get
second for that motion?
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Second.
Yes, I'll motion.
Okay.
And then what?
We can vote on this amendment? if-
Correct. All those in favor of the amendment? Thank you.
So 6-0. So now
Okay.
we can move it as amended?
Yes, Counselor Green, 1 second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would just like to review the charge of the committee, because it's been a while, and my understanding was it was going to advise us for the budget, but in any case, I'm in favor of the committee. I just want to make sure that we understand what the charge is at this point.
Is this something we should table until, until we get all the answers?
I will note that if your desire is for them to look at the budget, which may likely be part of their charge, the timing may not align quickly enough.
Right.
But I think budget considerations would certainly be something they would discuss. For example, changing of fees, staffing, or what else? Cost associated with capital projects like the truck repairs, and then maybe community paramedicine opportunities. The list goes on. But I do not think, whether it's voted upon tonight or a different night, that they'll have enough time to meet and have much action for this year's budget. I may be wrong, but.
Right, that's my understanding as well. So I just think it's important for the committee, and again, I didn't get a chance to go back and find the original charge and look it up, but I think it should be reviewed at the least. So.
I can look it up on the city's website and provide that on the fly here if you'd like, or if you want to take time to review.
That would be great. Thank you.
Please hold.
Do we want to table it?
Okay, are you ready? The purpose of the committee shall serve as an advisory body to the fire chief and the city council. The committee is tasked with evaluating and recommending strategies to enhance fire and EMS functions, ensuring alignment with community needs and fiscal responsibility. The membership is the mayor, the city manager, the fire chief, 2 city councilors, the deputy EMS chief, a fire union rep, medical field representative, and 2 Waterville residents. The scope of the authority: the committee shall prepare findings and recommendations for consideration by the city council on the following matters. 1, EMS, public awareness and education of EMS as an essential service. Number 2, reimbursement rates, legislation, treat in place revenue, resident fee collection exemption, medical billing, community paramedicine funding, non-payment of EMS billing, collections company. Number 3, call volume and analysis. Number 4, revenue streams, cost recovery options, expand types of calls that are billable, interfacility transfers. Number 5, trends in the rising cost of fire and EMS services. The committee is not authorized to make promises or enter into verbal agreements purporting to represent the city. The committee shall report on its finding and make recommendations to the city council as needed, but at least twice a year, summer and winter. And the committee shall sunset on December 31st, 2027.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So at this point, we have the membership rounded out, correct? We've added Flavia.
We've amended to add Counselor DeBrito. That was
Correct.
voted in the affirmative. Now we need a motion to amend, to pass as amended, and a second. And that puts it on the floor with Counselor DeBrito.
So I'll move to pass as amended, or to accept as amended.
Second.
Any discussion with regard to the updated roster or any of the commission, the members? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor? Wonderful. All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on to Resolution 90, 2026.
Approve Alphon Municipal Pool Fee Schedule 2026 season.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right.
Okay. Hey, hello again. Yeah, so we're about to enter our 5th season partnering with the Alphon Youth and Community Center at the outdoor pool. Basically, the city maintains the physical structures within the facility, the chemicals in the pool, the utilities, while the AYCC is responsible for managing the programs and staffing, scheduling the facility. I think it's worked out very well. So this is really more of a slight adjustment to fees, but more of restructuring. We're excited to be adding an inflatable obstacle course at the pool this season. So I don't know if you've seen them around, but they're becoming very popular, and we truly believe it's a new revenue stream. So it's impossible to predict how popular it will be, but if we estimate based on, the hours we're open, so we're going to be doing it in the afternoons during the week when the camps are gone and on the weekends. So we're estimating anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000 in additional revenue. The structure itself costs roughly $15,000, so we're hoping it pays itself back in a year or two. So in summary, the season pass rates will remain unchanged. Daily admission will actually be reduced in 2026, but a regular general admission pass will not include the slides and the inflatable. So we've added additional fees for those features. And party and rental pricing, just restructured it. I believe it's gone up across the board for residents and non-residents, roughly $50 in that table. Looking forward to another season. The pool ran very well last year. It was just 2 or 3 years ago that the full renovations, well, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, that full renovations were complete. So we're much more confident in the outdoor pool now. We did lose a pump last year, so we do have backups for that. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. That's all.
All right, wonderful. So looking at this, I don't see the structure for. Hold on, I apologize. I see the rental and party stuff. I see the pool, only the slides and the course. But I don't see season pass. Oh, season pass remains unchanged from last
right.
year. Okay,
Yep,
so
yep.
all we're seeing here is all of the changes for the daily stuff because we broke it out because we're doing pools and regular stuff. So are people going to get different wristbands or how does the staff know who's what? 'Cause
Well,
you get
I had hoped.
you get your card. Right,
Yeah.
to get you in, but how do they know on the ground?
I would expect a wristband or a stamp. I had hoped that someone from the AYCC would have been here tonight, but they weren't feeling well. So I'm not sure physically exactly how they'll determine that.
Okay, fair enough. Any questions for Matt with regard to the pool? Anyone in the public have any comments about the fees? Okay. Councilor Green.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you could review the policy on scholarships or access, because I see that this means that rates will go down for the pools only, but then up with the obstacle course. And I guess my second question is just where the funds came from to purchase the obstacle course.
The Alphon Youth and
Yeah.
Community Center purchased it.
Did they?
right? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, Councilor Green, on your first question. So we are proposing to have the pool subsidy again this year for Waterville residents, but you're asking to review the rates?
I'm asking you to review the subsidy.
The subsidy,
Like,
okay.
how does that
okay,
work?
Right. Well, we
Yeah.
can do that. We can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
right.
I'm saying, so if I go to the
yeah.
pool and my kid wants to do the obstacle course, but we don't have $12, what happens?
Well, yeah, the season pass rates are going to remain the same.
Yeah,
So that will
okay.
be included through the
Okay.
subsidy. That's by and large, 80% of the subsidy is used on season passes.
Okay, gotcha.
So again, I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but we'll find out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. As far as how the subsidy works in unison with the new
Right.
rates.
I
Yeah,
know-
I understand.
It's, a lot of people that I've spoken to, want to make sure that the pool is accessible, as you know, especially for Waterville residents. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any other council questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, moving on to Resolution 91, 2026.
Accept bid for road paint supplies 2026.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, hi.
Yeah, pretty exciting. So we put out an RFP. We only received one bid from Sherwin-Williams right here in town. In years past, we do this every year. We typically get 2 or 3, but our sense is that folks may be, Sherwin-Williams has typically almost always come in as the low bidder. They work very well with the city. In one little abnormality, the bid total, you'll see, is $51,000 and change. And in the memo, we're proposing to use up to $45,000 and cap it at that, because I believe we did an inventory of what we have right now for materials, and I'm confident that that's all we'll need this year to get the roads done. So just as a reminder, we subcontract out the handwork, which includes crosswalks, arrows, parking stalls, and stop bars, while the city does the center lines, the fog lines, and center lines, fog lines, and handicap stalls. Yeah, so it's kind of we mix it up. We think it's the most efficient way to do it.
Okay. Any questions for Matt? All right. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, moving on to Order 92, 2026.
Approval of a hangar lease for North Ramp Lot 4.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Hello.
Hello, any questions?
Well, I mean, this is a new one, right? Like, this
This is a new
is a pretty cool one, I think, right? I think we get something a little different,
Yes.
as I understand.
Yeah, so the traditional leases that we've seen are for the smaller block, 40 by 40 hangars down on Taxiway Delta. If you've been up to the airport recently, you'll notice that there is a new hangar already up there next to the city-owned one that says Telford on the back. This one will be one of similar size. I know the resolution in front of you is saying an 80 by 80 hangar, but this may also include and will likely include a 20 by 80 addition on the side, kind of like a lean-to that will accommodate office space. So I foresee that the business that's looking to go in there, well, it's under an LLC but it's privately owned. I foresee that we'll have a few small businesses operating out of there that are aviation related. So another big win for the airport, another hangar going up. This will be the 3rd lease on the north end for the larger hangars that offer 3-phase power, water, and sewer. So continued infrastructure improvement into the airport, extension of water lines and power lines, things of that nature.
Okay. Any questions with regard to this particular lease? Question, clarification, with the additional space, does this lease need to be modified or amended in any way? If we were saying 80 by 80 and you're saying
The
80
lot size
plus-
is the same.
Okay. So it might not be an 80-80 building, but the total size will be 80 and 80, like whatever, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Any questions, concerns? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor? Wonderful. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, have a good night.
All right, moving on to ordinance 93, 2026.
Amend mobile or temporary food vendors ordinance to add food truck court.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. One second. Patty, you sent meetings tonight. We need an amendment for this, I believe?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
City Solicitor Lee has reviewed the ordinance. He did notice that in Section B of 173.5.1, it indicates that the licenses are issued for a period not to exceed 90 days, when in fact we have mobile food vendors in the fee schedule for 6 months. So that's a conflict within our ordinance currently. So he suggested that we amend that to strike out that language in 173.5.1B, the first sentence. So I would entertain a motion if anyone is so inclined.
All motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the amendment? Thank you.
So can we move it as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional questions from the council with regard to the change? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, wonderful. All right, moving on to, that ends our council. Now we move on to discussion. We have a couple discussion items for this evening. The first one is emergency assistance funding and protocol. Who wants to kick us off? Do you want to just tee these up? I guess,
I'm happy to
real
be
quick?
brief because
Yeah,
it
thank
wasn't my initiative, but I
Sure.
will state that we do have some emergency assistance protocols in place, and those were attached as agenda items. So I think what is being proposed by some councilors goes above and beyond systems already in place, which are the police department and the health and welfare department has the protocols. So I believe some councilors would like to propose things above and beyond what we already have in place.
Okay. All right, with that, Councilor DeBrito, you want to
Okay,
lead
so.
the conversation off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. I originally put this on the agenda, asked to put this on the agenda, is to give Starfish Village an opportunity to talk a little bit more about this. They've been doing stuff out in the community, helping. And so I initially put this on the agenda in order to give them the opportunity. So if there's somebody here from Starfish Village? Nancy?
Well, and Nancy Sanford, Ward 1. I did not know that we were going to speak, and Rev Mo has had an emergency, so she can't be here tonight.
Would it behoove us to move this discussion item until Rev Mo is able to participate, or is it something we can continue this evening?
I certainly can talk to some of it. What we have been seeing is times when what we understand to be what should be covered by general assistance has not been. And that we have ended up doing it because we weren't going to let people stay outside in the cold. And so And we're a ministry of the First Congregational Church of Waterville, and we have limited funds, as I know the city does as well. But we would like to see something beyond when the GA guidelines don't allow for whatever is needed, and it's agreed to be needed, to just some protocol, so it's not just general assistance, it's not just Starfish Village, it's just not, say, KV Cap. And so that's part of what we're hoping for.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is the gap between what general assistance can help with versus what the city has?
Versus what?
What the city can help with.
With what? It's the difference between the GA guidelines, how they're interpreted by GA, and what is actually needed.
Okay. And so my question for Nick is, do we have anything in the system, like does Waterville have anywhere where if someone does not qualify for GA, do we have another pool of funds where if somebody's struggling with prevention, with drugs, do we have another fund where it's backed up by GA? Like if someone does not qualify for GA, do we have another funds that they can go to and get resources?
Good question. In general, when an applicant applies for GA and for whatever reason they are not deemed eligible in alignment with the state laws that guide that program, the staff go above and beyond to try to connect them with other resources or entities like the nonprofits, like the shelter, and as does the community resource department staff. So they have a call list to go through. But ultimately, there are not city funds at this time designated beyond general assistance. I believe there was at one point during the ARPA funds period, and there was a limited time amount of funds and protocols in place at that time, but there is not funding. There is just mechanisms to connect them with other resources. So if you're suggesting if GA deems a person ineligible, given those guidelines, they would just be directed elsewhere and given free assistance, but not funds.
Okay, thank you.
And one example of how this works in another city somewhat like Waterville is Augusta. The GA office there has another fund that, as I understand it, the city funds, that when the GA guidelines don't allow for it to be covered, the GA person, administrator, can go and use that fund. And so that is certainly something that we would like to see in Waterville.
One note for consideration. I'll give a couple, actually. The first is general assistance funds are reimbursed at a rate of 70%. Any funds set aside, should you wish, above and beyond general assistance would not be reimbursed from the state. It would just be expended. And then furthermore, it's been asked, are there pots of money or different allocation funds that could be used for this, such as opioid or TIF funds? To date, those and others that have been asked about are not eligible for this purpose because those are very targeted sources of revenue or funds. so we couldn't use opioid funds or TIF funds. So it would be a choice about if you'd like to dedicate some funds from taxation to set aside for that purpose. And then the next step, if you would like to do that, would be to set up clear guidelines for how those funds would be managed and by whom, and which instances they could be given out.
And I have a question. So you said with the opiate funds, do we have anything on, because I did look at the tips for the grants for the opiate funds, but do we have any item for prevention to kind of help with some type of prevention on the opiate funds?
Education, yes, but that's gonna be specifically for educational purposes, so that is a form of prevention. And we can certainly look at utilizing those funds, like doing work in the schools or the Alphon Youth Center. However, perhaps the chief wants to speak to that?
I would love to speak on that. Part of the reason that we have opioid funds at all is the police department's work with Operation Hope. We've been working extensively to prevent and help people enter long-term recovery with Operation Hope since 2017. At this point, we're over 600 people that we've helped with the program. So as far as prevention goes, yes, if somebody were to go to GA or anywhere and they want to get help, they want to enter long-term recovery or just feel better, they can come to the police department, ask for help with Operation Hope, and we will provide that help. That has gone, with the exception of the $50,000 in ARPA funds that was given to us by this body, that has been a program that has been fully funded by no donations and no taxpayer dollars, except for our own work with Officer Booley and our volunteer, who was funded through AmeriCorps Vista, and that program ended, and he actually stayed on with us after that because he likes working at the police department. So we do, and Operation Hope is a three-pronged program that works on education, enforcement, and treatment. So we do work pretty extensively with that, and that's part of the reason we have the opioid funds.
Okay. And also, just a follow-up question on Operation Hope. How many people did we serve this year on Operation Hope?
I don't have the number for this year. Total since 2017 is just over 600. I can get that number for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I would really like to get that.
And I just have one other,
Oh, well, it's okay. I was just going to, it looks like there are presentations that were going to be presented, and so I was just thinking it might help. No?
Well, I think those presentations are going to be conducted by Rev Mo. Am I?
Oh, really? Okay. So I was just,
Yeah, sorry.
I see. Okay, I was going to say, before we have the discussion about what we could do, we should have the presentation, but I understand now.
There really isn't a presentation from Rev Mo
Okay.
on here. These are simply some of the things that we currently do. If we're going to enter into a
Turn your mic
discussion with regards to emergency assistance, but.
I think your mic is off.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Sorry, I'm freaking out over there. I'm sorry, buddy. So, yeah, I apologize. No, there isn't a prepared presentation from Rev Mo. I wasn't aware she was presenting anything, but, so these are just simply some things that we put together, we had, to put in here to say, these are some of the programs and things that we have currently going. I know Todd, before he went on vacation, put together this community resource guide, which really talks about all of the different resources in the area and phone numbers. I believe this is something that he distributes quite a bit. And then we also have the emergency after-hour procedure and the police procedure for general assistance, in addition to something new, which we kind of borrowed the layout from another municipality, and that's the General Assistance 101 presentation, which really just breaks down the program that is that we operate via the state. So it kind of talks about that and really puts it into a PowerPoint format with all live links that are local to Waterville. So that is available. Councilor Beal.
What kind of money are we talking about? 5,000, 10,000? Do you have a feel for what Augusta does?
With the fund that, for things that aren't covered by GA, I believe is given in $5,000 increments, and when Nicole runs out of that, she goes to the city council and asks for more, and she has told us that they usually grant it. She also told us that the average denials per month in Augusta is 5 through GA.
Thank you. Denise, I don't know who to ask about. Is this something that would help you and your management of the GA to have a discretionary fund that you could use if they didn't fall into the GA assistance category?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we had a fund back when we got some ARPA funds through the council that we were able to utilize for temporary housing, hotels, in essence, because they were so expensive that GA couldn't absorb. They were way over, the cost would have exceeded the guidelines all the time, and we couldn't do that. So we utilized those ARPA funds for things like that, or if somebody came in and they had an electric bill that was way over our guideline, if we could pay $190 and they owed $500, then we would use it for something like that. That, I believe, was $100,000, and at that time, because of the absorbent amount of cost from hotels, we probably went through that in about 15 months or so.
So just a quick follow-up on that. So do you think, from your perspective and your experience, you could help more people if you had a discretionary fund?
Well, I mean, yeah, we could probably absorb, some of the other little things that we can't do through GA. Just, if, for instance, if somebody came in and they had an eviction notice and we could help with up to $800, but they needed $1,200, then we could utilize that fund for that.
So, okay, so my other question, and I don't know that you'll have this readily available. So in this past year, do you know the number of applicants compared to the number of approvals and denials for GA in the city?
Yeah, I just did an analysis of that. Well, I did a quick printout. I think we were right around 50%.
50%? Okay. And then I have one more question that kind of for you and for Nancy both, because Nancy, you said something a couple times that kind of struck me. You referenced the interpretation of the rules. So it's my understanding, obviously, some of this comes from the state, their state requirements. But it sounds like you don't think it's quite so black and white, maybe. And so I'd like for you to maybe speak to that, and then maybe Denise could as well from her role in this job.
From what we've been able to learn from some other GA offices, it certainly appears that there is discretion in the interpretation of the state laws, certainly. We became very, very concerned when several minors were denied GA assistance, which is in the state statutes for GA. And so that's where our part of where our concern comes from.
Thank you. Can you speak to that at all, Denise, what she's referencing as far as minors go?
Well, yeah. As far as, I'm not totally sure of what she means by it's in the state statutes. The minors issue that she may be talking about, that you have to take care of minors, may be in the child protection laws, but we strive, I mean, we don't, if we have a family with minors, they're homeless or whatever, we're not going to dispel that. We go by our rules, and we do have some discretion, especially in emergency situations, that we can help. So I'm not really sure that we have to help. It's in the state law. I can only see that in maybe child protection law.
Councilor Green?
So I just want to reiterate my request that we have someone actually walk us through these links that are in the agenda and share the information that is gathered there, so that everyone understands the mandate that exists for GA, what is possible, what is not. It is a complicated program, and I think it's important to see what Waterville is doing now through the police department, what the after-hours procedures are. I just don't see how we can talk about a solution until we understand what is happening now and have that information. So if that means that we postpone this to another time, I'll move that we postpone the discussion. But I think it's important to actually have some guidance in going through these slides that have been prepared, so that we understand what we're doing now and what maybe we could do.
I would definitely agree with you. I would definitely agree with that. Especially, I would love to have Todd here to kind of explain some of the work that he does with GA, especially since it coordinates really well with Health and Human Service. And I would definitely like to hear from Rev Mo on this issue as well, since she initially was the one that asked me to put this on the agenda. So I would second the motion to table this.
Okay. Just with respect, I think Denise also should have the opportunity to take us through GA 101 so that she can explain the program and how it operates.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have a motion to table to when?
I think we'd have to coordinate with the parties that we want involved, ensure their availability, and we can go from there. So I don't know if the next meeting is, we can try for next meeting, and if that doesn't work, we can continue to just wait for everyone's availability so we have the full picture, so we can understand what we're voting on or discussing or whatever, and we can go from there.
Okay. We're voting on table. As soon as the motion to table is, discussion ends, we just talk about that. So at this point, we have a motion to table. Do you want to amend the motion to table to a certain date?
I will motion to table until the next meeting. Oh,
Sorry.
there was so much, I'm sorry.
Well, so I would say the next meeting when we can have the parties here, as Councilor Gilly suggested. Yeah.
Chief, point of clarification. I believe Todd is about to go on vacation, or he started a vacation last week. Do we know, how long is he? I thought he said 2 weeks. I just want to make sure that he has enough time to come back, and will he be available?
He's on vacation for 2 weeks.
So that puts us, where are we at? So he won't be available May 5th anyway.
I would say not.
Okay, so then we should look to do this on the 19th if we want Todd.
I think that would provide enough time for all parties to be able to be here, prepared, and ready to have a discussion.
So amend to table until May 19th?
Sure.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Wonderful. All right. 519 table. Okay, next. Proposed ordinance to clarify relationship of law enforcement with federal immigration authorities. Councilor Beal, I will kick this off to you, if you're okay with that.
I am okay with that.
Perfect.
First off, I would like to apologize a little bit to my fellow councilors for all the information I've been sending your way. It's a complicated topic, but there's a lot of work that's been done recently, and I hope you get a chance to read it. This started in March, early March, when I went to a meeting at Colby. It was a panel discussion on immigration issues, and I found out what, we've been reading about in the paper, but what has been happening locally. And I found out about what Rockland has done and what the state was doing. So the state has passed a law, 1971, that basically provides guidance to state and local police authorities on how to support immigration requests from the federal government. It basically clarified that if the federal government has judicial warrants, if the federal government has knowledge of criminal activities, or the state and local authorities have knowledge of criminal activities related to violent crimes, human trafficking, major drug issues. These are the types of things that state and local authorities would be required or to support the federal authorities. But in all other cases regarding immigration, the LD 1971 says that the state and local authorities are not supposed to support immigration requests from the federal government. Rockland took this to the next step to clarify. They wanted to apply this same approach to not just their police staff, but also to their city staff. And they passed an ordinance in December that basically did that. It expanded the LD 1971 concept to all city employees. Since that point, Lewiston has also passed a resolution that prohibits city employees from working with immigration except in very narrow instances. Portland is in the process of doing this as we speak. The original Rockland ordinance had some gray areas, and our city council, Bill Lee, has pointed out some of them. I've been in discussion with him, and I passed on those comments to the ACLU and to the Immigration Legal Assistance Project folks, and they provided some updates. And the ordinance that Portland is currently considering has some minor modifications to address some of these concerns that city solicitors like Bill Lee have raised. So what I would like to do is bring this up at our next meeting as an ordinance. I'll work with the city solicitor to get the wording right, but it'll be based on the current version of the Portland ordinance proposal, and using the same definitions and the same wording. And what I wanted to do with this discussion was to give my fellow councilors an opportunity to provide feedback to me, because we're all going to be in this as we go forward. So I've talked to you individually, exchange information, but if you have anything to say, this is our opportunity to talk about it.
Yes, you want? Kiglis?
I certainly want to allow the council to have whatever time they'd wish to interject. Just to add to the full transparency of the public record, which was nearly complete with Councilor Beal's rendition there. Councilor Beal was also kind enough to include myself and the police chief in some discussions with the city solicitor. I appreciate that thoroughness. And the city solicitor was unfortunately unable to come tonight, and I think it's very important that he's included in any potential forthcoming discussions. And the reason I state that is in our discussions, one thing that came up is we must be very cautious as a city and mindful of the implications for potentially conflicting with federal and state laws. The Rockland ordinance appears to conflict with both, and in those instances, there are potential legal ramifications, and also the implications of asking staff to do something that conflicts with federal and or state law. There are real implications, unintended consequences that could be serious. So it's not to dissuade, it's just to say that the city solicitor must be involved hand in hand. And before I pass it back off to the council, I would like to say that the police chief is here as well if you'd like to hear from him, because it affects his department the most and he has insight into that.
Yeah, please.
So I thought I would begin with a little bit of history, because there's a little more history here than going back to March. Councilor Green came and had a conversation with me, I believe it was January of last year or very early in last year. And, you know, at that time, the discussion that we had, it made a lot more sense, rather than creating an ordinance, for the police department to have a policy that would be transparent and that we could show people when they wanted to know how are you interacting with federal immigration authorities. And so I went to work on that in earnest and actually started developing a policy. I worked with Bill Lee and a chief from another department that already had a policy, and we really tried to get something that would match both LD 1971 and the federal law. But even working together with Bill Lee, we were not able to find a policy that made, or write a policy that made sense, that complied both with LD 1971 and federal law, which is the particular one that concerns me is 8 U.S.C. 1373. It's quick, I'll read it. It says, notwithstanding any other provision of federal, state, or local law, a federal, state, or local government entity or official may not prohibit or in any way restrict any government entity or official from sending to or receiving from the Immigration and Naturalization Service information regarding the citizenship or immigration status, lawful or unlawful, of any individual. LD 1971 actually has a statement within the law that proclaims compliance with that section. But if we were to create an ordinance, and I believe the Rockland ordinance probably does this, that failed to comply with the federal law, we can potentially lose federal funding there. When I was administering our JAG grant back in 2017, we actually had to sign a paper that said that we were compliant with 8 U.S.C. 1373. And we've gotten $66,000 just at the police department from JAG funding in the last 5 years. So when you have a budget that's 91% labor, extra operational expenses really do help us out, and it would be a huge loss if we lost that. So that's kind of the historical aspect there. When Operation Catch of the Day started, we put a lot of thought into how we were going to respond to this as a community. And we responded in several ways. And this doesn't go in the paper because we don't put this stuff in the paper. We don't put it in the news. This is just our response, what we're doing behind the scenes to make sure that the city is safe. But we met with state and local partners to talk about how are we going to respond if there's an enforcement activity here in Waterville and the protests exceed the First Amendment rights and cross over into criminality. And even the state police, who are already following LD 1971, Commissioner Soschuk put that into effect as soon as the governor announced that she was going to allow that bill to pass into law. Even the state police, in our planning session, were talking about being present at these locations where necessary to help keep the peace. And that was also our plan, not to support immigration enforcement, but to help keep the peace and to help keep the community safe, which is really our job. In addition to that, we spoke with the district attorney's office. Actually, we spoke with multiple district attorney's offices, but ours specifically, to talk about the best way to enforce these laws and how they would be enforced. And then finally, I issued guidance to our department on how to respond to these issues based on those meetings. So I went into all of that just for you to understand that there was a lot of thought that went into this. And as a result of us not having prohibited contact with ICE, we were notified when they were coming into town, which is important for officer safety issues. It prevents blue on blue stuff. If we don't know that we have another law enforcement agency in town operating and we respond, that can result in some dangerous situations. And so I also just want to address tonight what we have done to reassure the community that we're here to help, because we've done quite a few things. I've had numerous meetings with concerned citizens, as well as working with the immigrant community. Last year, the majors and I went to Mid-Maine Adult Education, and we did a presentation for new Mainers on what to expect on a traffic stop, but not just what to expect from us, what we're going to ask for, what their rights are. So they understood what their rights are in a traffic stop. And I think it's important that we cover both of those things. Additionally, in February, I met with Capital Area New Mainers and the director of Mid-Maine Regional Adult Community Education to discuss ways in which we can assure the community there that we're here to help, and that we want to make sure they're safe in our community. And I provided both the director of Mid-Maine Adult Education and Central Maine New Mainers with my personal cell phone number so that they could reach out should there be any concerns. And so I say all this to say we're already doing a lot. I'd say we're doing more than most, and I think it's working. I think that adding this ordinance is an unnecessary step that would create confusion, be difficult to enforce, and I think it would make Waterville less safe. At this point, we already have federal and state law to contend with, and adding an ordinance, the Rockland ordinance certainly conflicts with itself in multiple spots. I think that would be a disaster. It would be impossible to discipline an officer for not following the ordinance if they were in compliance with federal and state law, because we don't discipline people for following the law. And finally, limiting where the police can go to protect people is an absolute danger to the public. We need to go where the unrest is, regardless of the cause. And for these reasons and more, I hope you do not institute this or any ordinance beyond LD 1971, which I believe accomplishes the same goal.
Thank you, Chief. That was appreciated. What I am doing here is in no means a reflection on your performance of your job. I think you're doing a great job. I still intend to pursue this. I've got documentation here from the ACLU lawyer that addresses many of the concerns that the chief raised. I've provided copies of that to y'all, or I can read it now. I'd prefer not to read it now, but
Mr. Beal, if I could just interject real quick, if you want to read it, I appreciate that. I would note I have a great deal of respect for attorneys. I wanted to be one myself at one point in life. Still, maybe I do. I don't know. I got to find what I'm going to do when I retire. But sometimes attorneys have agendas, and the one attorney that doesn't have an agenda, our agenda is his agenda, is Bill Lee, and so I really think that we need to listen to what he has to say on these topics, because I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I agree, but I also have a respect for the city of Lewiston, who has arguably an immigration situation similar to ours, and they felt obligated to go through and approve this, which they did on March 18th.
Against the wishes of their police chief, I would note.
I understand, and Rockland approved it against the wishes of their police chief. There are issues beyond the police. That's why I say it's not against your organization. But there's information available within our city government that can be used in enforcement of immigration policy by ICE and CBP. Not going to the police, but going to the city employees. That's why it's felt necessary to expand this. And I look forward to having this discussion with Bill Lee, and I'm hoping to have some backup from some of the immigration lawyers that I've been communicating with. But this is a real issue, and I know you're doing a good job, but these are not normal times, and we're headed into some potential, well, let me back up. We just need to have clarity on this, and I would like city employees to understand where they stand, what resources they can provide, and what resources they can't provide. And I think that that's the intent of this ordinance that I'm going to bring forward. And I look forward to talking with you and Bill Lee about it at length.
Sure. One final point, if I may.
Please.
Tonight, you heard at the beginning of this council meeting about a success that we had by working with the FBI. Our federal partners, when they come into Waterville, help make this a safer place. And limiting what we can do beyond what LD 1971 does, which is already extremely limiting, I believe is a slippery slope. Because right now we're upset with ICE. But what happens when we're upset with the FBI? And what happens when we're upset with the ATF? It is the stroke of a pen away from severely limiting and reducing the safety of the city. And with that, I appreciate that you have a different opinion, Councilor, but I also need to share mine. So,
Okay, Councilor Green.
So I also appreciate all the conversations we've had, and I know that you've thought a lot about this from a lot of different angles. Would you say that the Waterville Police Force is essentially enforcing LD 1971 now?
we have not started enforcing LD 1971 now. I have talked with the city solicitor about doing just that and training the officers so that they know exactly what the parameters of LD 1971 is going to be. Some of the unrest around, for instance, we were going to do a policy. I was going to train them on that. That was proximate to the time when the governor announced that she was going to allow LD 1971 to pass into law, and so then we put that on hold. We're trying to only train the officers once on whatever it is that we're going to have. I think at this point that LD 1971 is our best option. We have to follow the state law anyway, and when we know where we're going to end up, that's what we'll train them on. If this ordinance passes, then we're going to have to consult with Bill Lee on how exactly do we train them.
So you know, I think I welcome this discussion in the light of this will be the law.
Correct.
And so the police department does need to prepare and train officers. And I think that LD 1971 is very clear about separating cooperation with federal agents who are not in immigration. And I appreciate that.
Yep.
And, you know, and the example that you shared with us in regard to the cooperation that you undertook is perfectly fine under this legislation. I think it's very important that that our police department is ready and has trained officers on what to do and how to, what your policy is for LD 1971.
Correct.
I do, so, and that's coming up within a month, right? So I urge you to.
90 days after they adjourned, which I believe was April 15th. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Month and a half?
it's coming right up.
It is.
But again, we're not going to train on one thing and then have to train on another thing to have to train on another thing. So we're trying to get it narrowed down. If we didn't have this discussion right now, then we would be training on LD 1971 and being prepared for that. But we're not sure what we're going to be doing. And again, if we end up with this ordinance, I don't know how I train on it, right? Because
Well, you're at least going to be enforcing 1971.
we're going to be enforcing 1971, but how does that
Okay.
go with a potentially conflicting ordinance? I don't know the answer to that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a conversation that has to be had with Bill Lee.
Right. So the other thing I wanted to say is I am also concerned about, aside from the police department, being very clear about not cooperating with immigration officials unless there's a judicial warrant or criminal activity. I mean, LD 1971 is very clear about that. I do agree that it would be helpful to find a way to limit exposure to ICE in obtaining information from city employees. Now, I don't know what that looks like, but my priorities are implementing the law that is going to happen proactively, to be transparent about it, and also, ensuring that people are not at risk from officials who are behaving in ways that we haven't seen before and that are harmful to people's rights.
My top priority is making sure this is a safe place to live, work, and recreate. That's what everything we do is based on, and that's going to continue to be the case regardless of what happens here.
Right.
Councilor Bond.
I just wanted to voice my support for this in what Councilor Beal has mentioned. I do think that looking at what Portland is currently passing now with the modifications to the ordinance, it seems like they have, it's important. It seems like they have likely addressed or at least looked at some of the potential conflicts in this ordinance. And so using that as a model would probably be our best option, at least going forward. And then talking to the city solicitor and the ACLU lawyers and everyone else, I think getting as much knowledge around this from as many sources as possible is our best way to approach doing this. And while I understand many of the concerns the police chief rose, and I am sympathetic to those, I do think that this is a very complicated issue that's going to need a lot of voices beyond just one or two people. And so the more knowledge that we can get on this is the most important. And so I would like to see a more in-depth conversation with the city solicitor using the Portland ordinance as a model. Thank you.
Mic on. Okay, yes, I agree. I'm also totally in support with this. And I think we have Lisa here from ILAP. Yes. I would like to give Lisa from ILAP an opportunity to talk about, because I know ILAP has been working with Portland and Bangor. Maybe you can give us a little bit of background on how you guys made it happen in Bangor and Portland.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much to the Waterville City Council for considering this ordinance and beginning this discussion. My name is Lisa Paricio, and I'm an attorney, and I am the policy director at the Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project, or ILAP. And just as a bit of background, ILAP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan immigration legal services organization here in Maine, and we have served residents and workers for more than 30 years. We're the only organization of our kind in the state, and we have been responding to and tracking the high levels of really indiscriminate immigration enforcement happening in our communities. And I'd like to just share some quick context about the local ordinances that are being considered across the state and why they really are a key tool in protecting the rights and safety and well-being of everyone in your community. Since early 2025, Maine has seen very high levels of immigration enforcement, and that some of that has been facilitated by local assistance, with a very visible example of some of Maine's law enforcement assisting with immigration enforcement here in the state, civil immigration enforcement. And since last spring, ILAP has tracked more than 50 people being handed over to ICE and Border Patrol in the course of minor, unrelated traffic stops, after car accidents, after people called 911 for help, and other similar contact with law enforcement. These Maine residents were in lawful statuses or immigration processes, and they had no criminal record. And while ILAP learns in many cases, the full extent of local immigration or local assistance to immigration officers is unknown. And that's a very important detail, and I certainly appreciate, the work that the chief has been doing here in Waterville and all of the efforts to connect with communities. But this is one of the really important reasons why these ordinances are being considered. It's about protecting the rights and safety of individual residents in your community. And I also really want to be clear about what the stakes are and why this is so important. Once in ICE detention, Maine residents report their ILAP attorneys facing really horrendous and inhumane conditions. 2025 was the deadliest year in ICE detention in decades, and 2026 is outpacing it. People are reporting to us not having access to their medication, not having adequate food, being in freezing conditions, being in severely overcrowded cells, and much more. All people in ICE detention are put on a fast track to deportation to countries where their lives may be at risk, and no one in the system is guaranteed an attorney. So in addition to safeguarding your residents, to safeguarding the people of Waterville, these ordinances offer very important policy benefits as well. Some of the things that have been mentioned: clarity and consistency in local government, providing guidance and support to city employees about what to do when facing an ICE request or encounter, and ensure that limited public safety and other resources are protected and are not being diverted to the federal administration for a political agenda. And these ordinances also play a really important public health and safety role for entire communities. And one of the big public safety issues that is happening all across our state, is that ILAP's clients are telling us consistently that they are afraid to have any contact with law enforcement or other government officials. So this includes being too afraid to report crimes, to assist as witnesses, including in human trafficking cases, to seek protective orders from violence, to report employer abuse and exploitation, and all these other really vital sources of information that are key to the public safety of everyone in a community. And beyond this, people are afraid to send their children to school, to apply for jobs, to seek medical care, to exercise their religion, to move freely, and more. So these ordinances are also extremely important because they address the loss of public trust and all of the compounding impacts of having so many members of our communities withdrawing from public life out of fear. So these are the really compelling policy reasons to consider an ordinance like this. Again, it's about protecting the rights and safety of individuals and about addressing public trust. I'm also very happy to assist at any point with talking about some of the concerns and some of the questions about whether this is consistent with state law and federal law. I can tell you that analysis in other communities across the state has certainly concluded that these types of ordinances are within constitutional bounds, and really important to all of this is the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which protects the states from being forced to turn over their resources for things like immigration enforcement. And these ordinances, the state law, are really grounded again in the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. So I'm certainly here to be a resource to all of you and to everyone in the community as you have this discussion. And I hope that is a bit of a helpful overview, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions at this point or throughout this process.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming. Thank you. Absolutely. You talked about public trust, and if we're going to be frank, I do trust the police department that we have here, and I mean, as far as public trust goes. And so, yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And I guess I have a question for
you, Lisa,
Oh,
before
sorry,
you go. Thank you. And thank you very much for that overview of all of the work that you guys been doing. So in the communities that have these ordinance, have you seen any shift in federal funding towards those communities versus before they have this ordinance? So does it really affect the community in the way that they get grants or the police department?
It's a good question. I don't think that I've seen it connected to seeking to put these protections in place. You know, I think that unfortunately we are seeing the federal government trying to, slip kind of language into a lot of different types of grants all across the board, really seeking to get the resources of local communities. I mean, this is a very important part of the way that they seek to make quotas is really trying to get the resources, the public safety resources, law enforcement resources of local communities. So I can't say I've seen it directly tied, but of course this is just something that we are seeing across the board.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to note for the record that you've currently got before you, I believe, the Rockland ordinance, and the Portland one has been spoken of, and I believe you have spoken of Lewiston. There are other iterations out there for your consideration as well. And once again, not to dissuade you, but just to make you aware of options of approaches. South Portland, for example, also did a process like this, but instead of an ordinance, they chose to make a proclamation of sorts and then direct their city staff as well. So the combination of those two may result in a similar outcome, but without the implications that there may be a legal exposure. It's not to suggest that's the approach that you need to take. It's just saying, looking at all the options out there would be advisable, I would say.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilor Hurd.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of that. That was very helpful. I just wanted to add another voice of support for this. It's, obviously within the legal guidelines, but also because I think it's important for us to have, we're having a great conversation, but this puts an action behind our conversation and sends the message to the residents of Waterville, especially, the immigrants that live here, that, this matters to us. They are truly welcome here. And, I want them to feel safe. I want our city staff to have clear guidelines as far as what they, can and can't do. So, yeah, I absolutely will support this when we can work through all the details.
Okay, sir.
So I guess I'll be the minority. We had the police chief come up here and say that he has several concerns in regards to these ordinances. And Chief, how long have you been in law enforcement?
30 years.
So we're going to take what Chief Bonney has said with 30 years of experience and just kind of throw that into the wind. Because quite frankly, he came up here and had a great conversation in regards to the confusion. I mean, they work together. I mean, agencies have to work together, and that may prove difficult if we have an ordinance. Under no circumstances will I support it. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Councilor Green.
So, I do think it's important to listen to our police chief, definitely. And I will say that we have spoken numerous times, as he mentioned, and over the last year and a half. And I know that he's taken steps to engage directly, as he shared, with our immigrant community. I'm wondering, I haven't seen the Portland ordinance, which seems to be the model of choice here. I did read the Rockland ordinance. I just would urge us to think about what we want to accomplish specifically with the ordinance, right? Not necessarily to just take another ordinance and adopt it, but how do we want to, what do we want to add to LD 1971 that's not there now, that we want our city employees to do or not do?
Yeah, I apologize. I was looking for, I thought I saw something today in the flurry of emails that were being disseminated throughout the afternoon. I thought we got the Portland ordinance. I am not finding it now, but I guess, in looking at the Rockland one at this point, like LD 71 really just, 1971 talks, it looks specifically for law enforcement. When I read the Rockland, it says city employee, right? Like, so I think there's I think just like what you just said, Councilor Green, is 1971 good for law enforcement, and we need something for a city employee outside of law enforcement for that clarification? But we could certainly flush that out. If there's additional, clarification that's required. Yeah, Councilor Green. Hurrah, sorry.
I'd also be curious to know if anybody from the public has anything to say, the people that live in Waterville, like, if anybody has any input.
Yeah. Leo?
Obviously, I guess I'm gonna say. So, I respect the donation of time that you guys put in to this elected position, but we hire people like a city manager. I don't like getting pulled over, but I like having police. I'm just confused. We hire Bill Lee, and we pay him money. So that says that, they have some appointed authority. I'm just like, we're gonna go against, it sounded like Nick said he didn't like the idea. It sounded like he said he didn't like the idea. Bill sounds like he don't like the idea. I don't want to take away from your efforts, but correct me if I'm wrong, none of you are lawyers, none of you are trained to be a city manager, none of you are trained to be a police chief. It feels like we're just doing feel-good stuff to make people feel good. That's different than what he's doing. That's different than what he's doing. We have to make tough choices. You know what? I went on vacation with my kids this weekend. I had to make some tough choices. They wanted to keep shopping. That's a feel-good choice. I want to go home and eat. I want to take a shower. I'm tired. I've been driving. I've been vacationing, sightseeing. It's a tough choice. I got 5 kids. They're all like, ah! I can't.
I just want to say something. I need a distinction here because this isn't a feel-good choice. This is about people feeling safe. So that's
feel
a
good,
big.
feel safe. I don't know what the difference. I don't know. Define the
Well,
difference.
maybe you've never been in that position where you felt that
trust
way.
me, I've been in that position.
As an immigrant, I don't think you can actually relate. So I just think there's a distinction there. I understand what you're saying, but this is different.
I think it's unfair for you to know where I've been in my life. I'm not an immigrant.
Suggesting
but
that,
I
but
felt
just-
unsafe many times.
So have I, but not in this way.
Okay, so that's fair. You can feel that way. But it's like a lot of things we do in this city. It's not about feelings, it's about facts. Is it a law? Is it recommended? Is it enforceable?
I am not a lawyer, but I have talked to several lawyers on
I've
this
watched
topic.
TV too. I've watched Matlock. It doesn't go anywhere.
Bill Lee is not here. We've had discussions. He is going to have a say, and I'm looking forward to his say. And
Chief Bonnie spoke about what Bill Lee said.
well, I was in meetings with Bill Lee, and I know what he said. But I have since, the whole process of our legal system is you present facts and you get dialogue going.
I agree,
And
100%.
we've been talking to legal experts, and they have provided the rationale for the legal defense for going forward with this. And I've distributed that information, and we look forward to talking about it in the future.
I just think we just save a whole bunch of money and fire him and fire him and fire Bill Lee, and we'll just do feel-good stuff. Why pay all the money for experts if we're not going to listen to them? That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you, Leo.
Yeah, and I guess just before we bring Karen up, I just want to clarify that, I mean, this is where I hear this ordinance is all about. It's just being proactive to 1971 going into law. So regardless of we like it or not, 1971 is going to go to law, into law. So for me, what I'm hearing is just the city of Waterville is going to be proactive and having an ordinance ready. So when it does go into effect, we know what we're looking for.
This ordinance is going to make it more difficult for the Waterville Police Department to do their jobs, and it's going to make it more difficult for the Waterville Police Department to keep Waterville safe. That is what, this is a bad ordinance, and it's bad for Waterville.
Excuse me, but we don't have an ordinance yet.
Correct. Thank you.
Potential ordinance.
We have a state law.
We have a state law.
And I would
Okay.
like to disagree
No,
with
it
Councilor Gilly on this. I think that this ordinance will make Waterville a safer place. I think that we can address Chief Bonnie's valid concerns, and I intend to do so.
Chief Bonnie said that this was going to make Waterville less. Am I wrong? Did you not say this is going to make it so? I mean, am I in bizarro world here? Just wondering.
No, however, like this body creates the ordinance, right? So if you want to have a say in what the ordinance says or doesn't say, then when this comes, we don't even, like Councilor Green said, there is no ordinance right now, right? So there are two ordinances that were talked about. We have one that's in front of us that we can physically see. So if you don't like portions of that, then when we draft something for you to review, then that's what amendments are for, and then the vote. But until we have an ordinance to actually speak about, I don't know, we're just kind of talking in circles at this point. There's been some support from the council in discussion. There's no votes or anything like that happens. There is guidance to administration to pursue additional, I guess, time and energy to draft an ordinance to put in front of you. So if that is the consensus of the council, then that will move forward. If it's not the consensus of the council, then that's it. Like this, we just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we need to end is there consensus from this council to have administration work with the entities to put together an ordinance that you folks want to look at and vote on.
Yeah.
And that's the question.
I was going to
that
volunteer to do that, that first cut of the ordinance, because we've got the paperwork.
Well, I mean, and you need the council guidance to do that because you're utilizing city staff to do something that isn't the wish of the council. So the point of the discussion is to gather the information and support to determine whether or not there is enough to move this forward, to take those energies to draft an ordinance to put in front of this body.
Yeah, and I fully support that, and that would include Bill Lee, that would include Chief, so that would include all the people that were in this room today speaking today. So I'm in support of that, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think Karen wanted to say something if I cut her off.
That's fine. Karen, please.
Karen Heck, Ward 6. Just a couple things. One, in answer to your question, Leo, yes, the council actually is the taxpayers' representatives and directs the city council, the city manager, and the city manager directs the police chief. So yes, we do have some say. And secondly, I'm not disputing one way or the other the way the police chief talked about what's happening, but I think that there are other pieces of the ordinance in Portland that address things that have been happening nationwide and also happening here in Maine. Like, I don't want Patty to have to give up the voter rolls. And I want to make sure that we have some kind of protection for people who are in positions and are being asked to do things that are illegal. And I don't think that it's beyond the pale to realize that this administration is doing things that's illegal. And making sure that the police are cooperating is important, but there has to be signed judicial warrants, and people can't just be pulled over and kept while ICE is notified. I mean, these aren't things that are happening in bizarro world. Well, it is bizarro world, what's happening right now, but I think it's really important to protect the people who are working for us to make sure that they are doing the things that are keeping people in this town safe. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, anyone else from the public?
My name is Emmanuel Pariser, Ward 4, and I just want to thank you all because I think you've been here quite a long time. And I feel like this was a thoughtful discussion, and I appreciate that. And not everybody's agreeing. I did want to bring up one point that I heard early on, which is that when local police get involved with immigration activities, it opens them to civil suits if they don't perform those activities in the right way. And I haven't heard that mentioned here. So, and the ICE and CBP, they have more money right now than the U.S. Marines, which I think is kind of a telling investment. So they should be able to do their stuff, what they need to do, without the cooperation of our police department, unless they have a judicial warrant, unless there's a criminal activity. So I do feel like there are some points that, haven't been mentioned, but I just want to say that I appreciate the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Okay, with that, what I will say is that during the conversation, I think that there is consensus for the administration to work with department heads, counselors, to put together an ordinance for us, or for this council to go ahead and review. So with that, I think we'll end this discussion, and we will bring this up another time once this gets written. So, and with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
I have a